Welcome to Swiss Connections HCB. We make your move to Switzerland easy. Right now, if you're thinking about moving to Switzerland, you're probably considering, well, is it going to be a place where I can work? And is it somewhere that I can actually launch my business? In this episode, we're going to talk about business opening, employment, taxes, and everything you need to know about opening and running a business in Switzerland. So Greg, let's jump into what lots of people are obviously going to be keen to hear about, which is employment and business. What are the advantages of being in Switzerland, whether you be an employee or employing people potentially, or more importantly, setting up a business, right? Because there are some quite big advantages here. And can we maybe start with owning a business in Switzerland? How do you go about this? How obviously we can help with all of this to start off with, but how do you go about creating a business in Switzerland?
Yeah, basically it's quite easy to start a business in Switzerland, and obviously you have to comply with your obligation if you have a specific profession. For example, if you are a lawyer, you have to obtain the required authorization. But for example, if you want to work as a non-regulated profession, you can start your business, you can establish your company, and it's a very easy process.
So what does that look like? There's a minimum deposit?
Yes, for example, if you want to start a limited liability company, you have to make a deposit of 20,000 Swiss francs as the first capital of the company. It could be more, but it's the limit. And as soon as you have made this deposit with the bank in Switzerland, you have to pass in the public notary in order to incorporate the company. And as soon as you have done this process, your company formally exists and you can work with your company.
And so that means there's a part of it which is opening a bank account, which is relatively complex. Is that true? Or?
No, it's not relatively complex. What is important to know is it's important for banker to have a clear vision of what is your project, because they don't want to open account with company without clear project. This is why it's important to provide with the banker a business plan and explain to him what you really want to do with your company. And if you have a clear intention, clear situation with your company, it's not a problem. Yeah.
And so in that context, of course, Swiss Connections HCB can help with doing both the business plan, introducing to the bank, registering the company. All of those things are things, of course, we can help with.
Yeah.
But the main part of it is you've got to start with a business plan. You've got to be a director in Switzerland.
It's important to know that in order to establish a company in Switzerland, you need that at least one manager. It's not necessary to have a director, but one manager with the power to sign for the company has domiciled in Switzerland. So it could be a lawyer, for example, at the beginning of the company. If you don't want to move staff in Switzerland, you prefer to have a limited employee in Switzerland, you can ask a lawyer to
be your director.
Exactly, for the beginning of the activity of the company.
And of course, or you could be a resident of Switzerland and then your consultancy or what have you is there. Could you talk to me about briefly what the corporation tax, for instance, or social contributions on people's salaries would be if you had an employee? What do they look like in Switzerland?
They are not very important. To give you an example, for example, you have to pay for the social security approximately 10 to 15% of the salary you paid to your employee.
Because the private medical insurance system is insurance based. Does that mean that you need to pay for your employee?
No. Some important company offer this advantage to their employee, but it's not a requirement.
And what's the minimum wage in Switzerland? Does it vary from area to area maybe, but what is that on average the minimum wage for an employee?
Depending his qualification,
Yeah.
but normally we can make an assessment approximately 5 to 6,000 Swiss francs, but it's very general
Yeah.
assessment.
I understand. I'm just wanting to understand. So you got probably a higher competency of workforce there, an advantage on the social charge side of things. You're not paying a huge amount, and you don't have to pay for private medical. But corporation tax, what's that going to be like in Switzerland?
So corporation tax is quite acceptable in Switzerland. You have to pay almost 10 to 12% on your benefits each year. And you don't have other type of tax except if, for example, you pay some dividends to your shareholders, but it's on the charge of the shareholders himself.
So it's
not paid
tax.
by the company. The company has to make the payment to the tax authority, but it's the debtor is the shareholders, not the company.
Not the company.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that if you went into some rural spots, you can get lower corporation tax than that?
You say for a company?
Yeah, itself. So if the company's established in like you said the regional parts, the corporation can be lower.
Sure. Because as I said in a precedent video, the tax rate are in the competence of canton as well for a company. So depending where you decide to,
how low could it go?
Yeah, depending where you decide to create your company, you have not the same rate. So, for example, you have a lot of company in Zug, in Schwyz, or in the canton of the center of Switzerland, because the rate is more interesting.
What is it like there? Around 9%, something like that.
Yeah.
So it goes to as low as that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And so, what's the average kind of working week in Switzerland? I mean, clearly you guys do an awful lot of production of high precision stuff. What would employees expect to work if you're going to employ people in Switzerland?
Yeah, generally it's 40 to 42 hours per weeks.
And with 4 weeks off?
4 weeks off per year.
Okay.
Generally, companies grants 1 more weeks for their employee, which correspond to 5 weeks per year. But the law, the law just required 4 weeks.
Okay. And not that I like doing this, and I don't think anyone does, but what about hiring and firing? What happens if you want to get rid of somebody in Switzerland?
You know, basically...
Or what happens if you want to hire somebody in Switzerland?
Swiss labor law is not very regulated because the purpose is to keep a flexible labor law in order to favorize the employment. So it's not difficult to, if you, for example, you have an employee that you don't want to keep in your team, it's not difficult to ask him to leave the company. Just have to respect, generally it's a 3 months. Not 3 months notice, and as soon as you have comply with this obligation, you don't really have to provide any explanation
why.
Exactly. The employee can ask why, but you can just say, okay, it's a restructuration of the company. You don't need to provide further explanation.
That's pretty. I guess that's pretty good for even startup companies, etc. With potentially cash flow and all of these kind of things. So what we're saying is, employment and business in Switzerland is quite an attractive place to be. Quite dynamic, competitive market space. Expect higher salaries, or minimum wages are higher, but less contributions potentially than in other places. I would say probably a good skill set of workforce, the people that are there because of the I hate to say it, but the hiring and firing being a little bit easier. I guess people people work or want to work when they're happy somewhere, so that's pretty good. And in terms of corporation tax, pretty attractive, right? So it's quite a nice proposition for people that are looking potentially to establish even their consultancy, move from the US and create a consultancy there. Coming back to that, in terms of regulations, what it sounds like is that you could actually establish a company in Switzerland without being there, as long as you've got somebody that's a director in the country and that it's a real business plan. And of course, at Swiss Connections HCB, we can help with all of that, right? From the business plan writing, company creation, running the HR side of things, etc.
Contact the banker.
the bank, everything. So if you want to find out more about that, guys, and how Greg and I can help you, you can go in the description link below, visit our website, book a call with Greg. And of course, we can establish this more in detail and make all of this work, of course, with your residency application if you want it to be so the case. Again, Greg, thanks so much
Thanks, Richard.
for joining. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.